Hi, it's Ileana here, or otherwise known as Elle, and today I'm going to be discussing writing my DNA energetically and seeing what I had there. So, for me, I've been on a journey of going back into my memories and doing memory retrieval through hypnosis, sometimes through self hypnosis, and in 2015 through quantum healing hypnosis, where it was discovered that the reptilians had abducted me from the ages of 2 to 10. More like confirmed, because I already knew that through doing the past life regressions and self hypnosis, but it was also confirmed through the quantum healing hypnosis, QHHT, and that my autoimmune system had been compromised because of the genetic manipulation that the reptilians had done and the nanites. So basically, I already knew that something had been done to me, but I had never tried writing my own DNA, so to speak. It wasn't something I thought to do because I had physical symptoms of autoimmune disorders like Hashimoto's thyroiditis, Hashimoto's encephalopathy, hemiplegic migraines, and just migraines. So it was a combination of different things that were going on. And it was always weird to me because I've had this as a child. So, and basically, the abductions with the reptilians happened from 2 to 10. And when I was 4, I suddenly collapsed at the playground, just fell, lost consciousness briefly, woke up with a fever, paralysis, very sick, and I was paralyzed for 2.5 weeks in the hospital in Ukraine. So that was unexplainable. They couldn't find any virus, they couldn't find anything to account for what happened to me. That was a heavy time for me during the reptilian abductions. So I was being taken at those times, and my health kept suffering for it and deteriorating. So that was in my childhood. And then as I kept growing up, I still had other ET contact experiences, some pleasant, some not so pleasant. And then I had the SSB memories come back, secret space program, 60 and back, quantum leap time travel. So, and that affected my health as well. They actually knew all my medical conditions. I still had them on Mars, but they were being basically suppressed by the biological drug serums that they have up there. So I did the immunoglobulin therapy here, both intravenous and subcutaneous, and that has definitely helped with the encephalopathy and the migraines to control it and to suppress it to some degrees. So my health has improved thanks to that, to doing that. So, but I still had a lot of questions. So I basically decided to energetically scan myself. I don't do that often because I don't go within myself. I don't want to see all my foibles and stuff that's within me. That's not something that I do on a regular basis. I physically feel if there's something not right. I usually physically feel it in symptoms. But this is different because my health has really improved by like 50 to 60%. So I still have the symptoms once in a while, right? And they're weird, they're not explainable. So I had questions. So I decided to ride my genetic lineage on my mom's side, the DNA, ride the DNA energetically, because you can do that. You can do body scans, or you could ride the DNA. So I wrote it, and I did notice a gene mutation, a big one, a mysids, in one of the migraine factors, which is familial hemiplegic migraine type 2. So I saw that mutation in that gene, in that secondary gene for FHM2. And it didn't shock me that it was there. because I had all those reptilian abductions, SSB stuff happen, and I'm also a hybrid extraterrestrial myself. So for me, I'm a lot of things. I'm not purely human. I've had extraterrestrial lifetimes and full ones, full on extraterrestrial. In this lifetime, I'm part ET hybrid, part human. But I have all my cellular memories and the genes from everything that's happened before. And I also have some family stuff genetically and all those incursions by the reptilians as well. So I noticed that a lot of things were weird, and that FHM2 gene was somewhat wonky. There's a mutation right in the middle of it. So I had applied for genetic testing, and the test results came back February 12th, 2020. So I already knew prior to finding out the results what was going on genetically with me, because I had rode my own DNA and saw the mutation for FHM2. So I already knew the results, and when I was shown the results and given a printout, I wasn't shocked, because that's what I knew was going to be there, because I had already energetically scanned myself and saw what was there. So there's no cure for it currently with what's available on Earth. There's no genetic editing for it, so it can't be edited out of my genes. But that's okay. At least I know what it is and how I can continue working on myself to limit my migraines, to limit the Hashimoto's stuff, by continuing to do the immunoglobulin therapy with SCIG, subcutaneous immunoglobulin, which is a biological medication, or an equivalent of the biological drug serums that were given to me on Mars. So that's what I'm doing, and I am continuing the hypnosis stuff, the psychic stuff, to explore the supernatural, the paranormal, the SSB stuff, special Black Ops projects. I am definitely exploring everything in life and listening to different stories about others and their experiences, because what I've done for myself, I have a lot of medical knowledge that did not come from Earth, not from this Earth lifetime. It came from Mars. Well, concurrently from the Mars stuff that I was doing in the SSB, in addition to my somewhat normal life when I was younger on Earth. So it was happening concurrently. So I have that medical knowledge in my brain. I've always had it. I was just not tapping it and not accessing it. But then I started to with the hypnosis and the past life regressions, by studying shamanism, by studying magic and Wicca. All those things did help to activate my psychic abilities further, my psionics, and to be able to scan myself energetically and see what's going on in myself and also others. I've seen what happens to people in their body, what's going on with them. I've seen emotions, memories from people's minds just by being near people. I pick up on stuff because I'm psychic. And it also runs in my family lineage. Apparently, my great-great-grandmother was psychic. She used to do readings for others to find missing objects, animals in Ukraine, in the village back in the day. She used some kind of divination cards to do it, and her psychic abilities. And on my granddad's side, great-granddad, yeah, his sister used to be a herbalist. And she would go out into the forest and forage for herbs, and then make healing poultices and make healing tinctures to heal people. And a lot of people would come to her for healing, for natural herbal healing, and she was successful at it. So this runs on my mom's side, on the maternal side. My great-grandmother was a psychic. And on my great granddad's side, his sister was a herbalist and a healer, naturopathic healer. Back in the day, this was in the Ukraine. So that was before my time. I never met my great grandmother or my great grandfather's sister. I only know of this stuff through my mom, through what she's told me. My mom is also very intuitive and a bit psychic, so she can sense when things are coming and if something's going to happen. So she has that ability as well. I have it full force. I have the full-fledged psychic abilities. I guess it runs on my mom's side of it, in the intuition. So now I clearly better understand where this comes from, the psychic stuff. It is in the family lineage. So, and I feel quite thankful to know from my mom about the psychic stuff in her family from the maternal line. To me, it just does bring calmness and peace to know a bit about my history, because I don't really ask my mom these things often. And I finally decided to sit down with her and really ask, what's her family history from the maternal side and the paternal side of her family. And now I know. So there was some gifted folks on that side of the family that were psychics and healers and herbalists. So I'm just going to share with you the genetic test results. That what I'm saying is true, that I wrote my DNA and that I really looked into it energetically, but I'm going to explain the science behind it, behind what it was. So I'm just going to share that document with everyone. So there it is. It was done with Blueprint Genetics testing, and it was a migraine panel plus. And I did redact all the personal information of who the doctor was, the ordering hospital, my last name, date of birth, ordering information, because, there are rules where that stuff should not be made public. So the test results were as follows in the summary of the results. Test results. Patient is heterogeneous for ATP1A2, C.1777C/TPARG593TRP. So that's where the mutation is in the gene. The gene is ATP1A2. That's familial hemiplegic migraines type 2, and it says it's pathogenic. The deletion duplication analysis did not detect any known disease-causing copy number variation or novel or rare deletion duplication that was considered deterioration. I'm not going to read the whole word because it's huge. So they didn't detect any deteriorating diseases in the duplication deletion factor. And those are minor variants of mutations. Mine is a main mysis mutation, which is pathogenic, means it's hereditary. I don't know whose side of the family it comes from. They don't want genetic testing, but they're saying it could be very much a hereditary thing, or it could also have been a de novo mutation. Just self-mutation somehow magically happened. So none of my parents are going to be tested. I don't have any living aunts or uncles, so there's only just me and my parents, and that's it. And they don't want to know if it's in their gene pool. They're quite functional. They don't have migraines. So it might be self-mutating because of the reptilian incursion and abductions and the SSP stuff. So it says here in the test results, primary variant table sequence alterations. So the gene is ATP1A2. Yes, it's a missense variant, so it's a big mutation. Classification pathogenic. So, and then it gives the polyphen type, probably damaging, and it gives the mutation class, it's disease causing, and the phenotype is alternating hemiplegia of childhood, migraine, familial basilar migraine, and familial hemiplegic type 2 migraine. I have the familial hemiplegic type 2. So that's the main Mison's variant for me on the phenotype. And then it just goes to explain what the sequencing process was, that it was a migraine panel. They scanned 10 genes and the exons, 204 exons. The median coverage was 211, and the percentage of accuracy is 99.99% accuracy level. So very thorough. They scanned other genes, not just migraines. They scanned for epilepsy, encephalopathy, CADASIL, seizures, mitochondrial disease, encephalopathy, all kinds of stuff. So many things were scanned for. And I have metabolic encephalopathy, Hashimoto's encephalopathy. So it's not genetic, it's metabolic. It's an autoimmune disorder. So that's what this test is, the results of it. So it's primarily a genetic mutation in migraines. So that's what this test is, and it was done with Blueprint Genetics in Finland. So I was corresponding with them quite often, and they were wonderful in giving me all the information about the genetic testing, how much it cost, what the forms were, where the testing would be done in Finland, how soon I would get the results, communicating with my new neurologist, and also sending the results to my other neurologist who I've been with for a long time. So I'm working with 2 neurologists and a family physician and a pharmacist to keep track of my health and what's going on. So I have a team, I have a good team of doctors who I'm working with, because I do need the CIG every year to be approved, and I do need to be monitored because hemiplegic migraines could have a stroke factor. So it's a serious medical disorder and disease. And I have type 2 familial hemiplegic migraines with paralysis and migraine aura. That's what the gene does. That gene, it breaks down the pump protons, protein and proton, and inhibits it, that pump in the brain. It's quite scientific. So it's a protein pump inhibitor that happens. So I don't get enough protein going through the pump, and it affects my brain, literally. It doesn't work correctly with the signals and stuff, so it affects my body as well. But it's mostly paralysis type causing genetic mutation. That's primarily what it is. So that's a bit behind of the science of it, a little info behind the science of what the explanation is for it. So, I got this information. I decided to do the genetic testing simply by first writing my DNA. And then, I see something interesting in there. I do want physical confirmation, scientific medical confirmation of what I'm seeing. So I did the genetic testing, and it was confirmed exactly what I was seeing in my DNA, that it's a FHM2 type migraine. It's not just a headache, it's much more than that. I am glad to know the test results of the genetic stuff, and that when I did ride my DNA, it was what I saw is what I saw. It did not scare me. I suspected also that there could be something going on with my genetics, because on Mars, I also studied genetics and I worked with genetics. I actually did genetic testing on the cyborgs that I was making. And there's a thumbprint scanner device they put their hand on. It scans your whole genome, and it tells you if there's any issues with your DNA and your genome, then there's advanced genetic editing available, and they can just, remove any mutations, minor or major, out of your DNA. So with genetic editing, DNA editing, they never did that for me because they wanted to keep me compliant and complicit in doing the work. So instead, they gave me biological drug serums to suppress my migraines and my encephalopathy so that I could be a highly functional SSB asset on Mars doing the work for 60 years. They kept me also young by giving me more drug serums. God knows what that did to me and my whole system. But, there's different ways of suppressing medical issues through drug serums, genetic editing. On Mars, they do all of that, or through the holographic medical pods, the regeneration tanks. There's so many different advanced medical options available on Mars through the planetary corporations. And they do some hideous, vile medical experiments, building human synthetic cyborgs is against the law. They're not supposed to do that, or cloning people, or transferring their souls through the Dreamcatcher technology, but it's all being done. It's still being done now. The SSB has not been stopped. They're still doing that on the Mars basis in the Cybernetics Labs. That exists, and it's even being disclosed in Star Trek Picard right now, because the very first episode talks about how the synthetic cyborgs destroyed Utopia Planitia shipyards on Mars, and that Mars is burning. What do they have on Mars currently? The Cybernetics Labs and the Mars basis from the planetary corporations. They have close to 200 and something bases up there on Mars, and a lot of real estate on the moon as well. They have bases on the moon. So Star Trek Picard is disclosing a lot about the Tal Shiar, which is a secret Black Ops organization. And the Tal Shiar has a subgroup that's even more secret, where they do cyborg experiments. They're studying the Borg cube and the survivors of it. And that's currently being featured on Star Trek Picard, and how Data made two daughters who are biologically human and synthetic, and that they're now waking up, remembering who they are because they're grown up, so that they're human cyborgs. So Star Trek Picard is disclosing a lot of interesting things of what's going on. And that ties in with secret space program disclosure that I've been doing for years. So there's so many different similarities. Star Trek Picard is disclosing a lot of stuff that happens on Mars, except it's in a different story arc, but it includes Mars and synthetics. So it's very similar disclosure. So that's something to pay attention to, because it's a reality. It's a reality that still happens on Mars. And the planetary corporations are involved in it knee deep, and it's kept secret from us. So there's a lot of things going on. So I just wanted to share what's going on right now, what's happening in my life, and what I've been doing, and the disclosure that I'm seeing coming out through Star Trek Picard about human cyborgs and synthetics, and Utopia Planitia, what happened there, and that Mars burned as a result of these special ops black projects going on. I hope that doesn't happen in our current reality to Mars, and because of all the clandestine black ops operations that they're doing up there, because they're keeping all of that secret from us. I hope that doesn't happen to Mars, because there was nuclear war that happened on Mars about 500,000 years ago. So Mars actually burned once already. We don't need that to happen again to Mars and also impact Earth because of all these negative black ops projects. That's just wrong. Shouldn't happen, but that's being disclosed very subtly in Star Trek Picard, so it's worth watching. because it's quite a reality actually on Mars right now. So thank you so much, and namaste.